and I mean this with the utmost respect, Nolan McLean is hashtag our ace. The Mets finish off a 3-game sweep of the Philadelphia Phillies. The vibes immaculate. The Mets only facing a 4-game deficit. Philly is crying in a pool of their own tears. And it is another edition of the Bleav in Mets podcast. That is Jack McKessie, Chris Schubert, back with you talking all things New York Mets baseball. Jack, I don't know if we knew times like this were going to come back to the New York Mets this year, but here we are talking about a sweep of the Philadelphia Phillies.
Chris, I'm left wondering if the Mets will ever lose to the Philadelphia Phillies at Citi Field ever again. It's been 10 games in a row now, a franchise record that the Mets have put together here, including the postseason, obviously, as many can recall. But, man, the vibes, I don't think, have been this high, at least how I feel about the Mets. And I know the standings still show the Mets in second place by 4 games. But I haven't felt this good about the team since I feel like May.
Oh, it's been at least 8-12 weeks since we felt this good about this team. You're right. It may even date back to earlier in the first half. And I think it's just because other than any other point this season, I think the Mets are playing complete baseball. Everything. Offense is doing well. Starting pitching has turned the corner. And not just the generic offense is doing well. They're hitting with runners in scoring position. They're hitting with 2 outs. It's contributions from everybody in the lineup. It is the reemergence of Mark Vientos. It is Juan Soto starting to come through for this team in those clutch situations. It just feels like everything is finally rowing in the same direction in the boat.
I will say, and I think one of my biggest takeaways from the series was you say everything is rowing in the same boat. I would argue this potential Death Star is not rolling at full operation. We are not seeing the full potential.
Full capacity.
We're not seeing the full capacity of what this Death Star can put together because we've seen amazing things from Nolan McLean, from this offense, from many members of the bullpen. But we're not at fully operational yet because Shamanai and Kodai Senga are still having blips in the rotation, and Ryan Helsley is still having his own blips out of the bullpen. And yet, the Mets were able to complete a pretty comfortable, besides some hairy parts of that second game, 3-game sweep of the Phillies at home.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll lead up to talking and gushingly praising Nolan McLean to probably close this series recap. But let's go back to where the things really started. And things really started in the first game of this series when Alec Boehm decided to complain about a parabolic microphone. And
things really started with Tyrone Taylor diving for a ball that he had no chance catching on the first batter of this series.
I texted you in real time, and I said, boy, does that feel like a guy who's trying to prove that he belongs in center field because his manager keeps sticking him in the corner for Cedric Mullins. And luckily, it didn't come back to bite the Mets, although that was a really bad play, and you're thinking to yourself, oh boy, here we go again with the Phillies very quickly scoring a run. But yeah, a 19-minute delay because of a parabolic microphone, and things just went off the rails for the Philadelphia Phillies. I mean, Boehm complaining and it immediately leading to a 1-pitch ground out, them not having to hit the rest of that game. Harper not knowing what to do on that pickoff move.
Yeah.
The Mets scoring 13 unanswered runs after trailing 3-0. Luis Torrens with a 5 RBI game. I mean, it was the ultimate karma getting to Boehm for complaining about those microphones and causing that delay because the Phillies just they couldn't hit. The only base runner they got was a Ryan Stanek walk in the 9th inning.
Yeah, I mean we'll talk about it, I'm sure, over the course of this series, but there were multiple times that I was like, oh man, the Mets are so in the Phillies' heads, specifically at home. What really got me about the Alec Boehm complaint, too, was it was after he hit into that double play. Castillo comes in after Kodai Senga hits, I believe, JT Realmuto. And 1 pitch, 2 pitches later, Alec Boehm grounds a double play, starts pointing fingers. Dude, your last at-bat, you had a 2 RBI single to put the Phillies up 3-0. All of a sudden, the Mets tie the game, and you're freaking out about, oh my gosh, that parabolic mic, I can't see the ball clearly. You didn't have a problem 2 innings prior in the top of the 3rd, but all of a sudden the 5th inning rolls around, you ground into a double play 2 pitches in, and you're freaking out.
And I don't know to what level he complained, if it was just a passing mention or if he actually was upset about it to the point where he was angrily saying something to the first base coach. But boy, did it come off as some mentally weak stuff from the Phillies to complain about that when they were already winning the game.
I saw him say something to the first base coach to the tune of, what the insert word here is that, while pointing to the parabolic microphone in center field.
Yeah, just it was rattled would be the word to use to describe the Phillies in this series. Constantly rattled by Citi Field, by the Mets, by Nolan McLean, by parabolic microphones. You name it, the Phillies were rattled. Jesus Luzardo, we'll get to him in a second. He was rattled. I mean, this Phillies team, they opened the door to be exploited in this series. The Mets took full advantage, and it is setting up for an absolute duel here coming up for 4 games in Philly.
I mean, the other thing, too, is about Bohm is, like, when you do something like that and create a 15-minute delay after what was already a pretty long inning by the Mets tying the game in the bottom of the 4th, you're setting up Christopher Sanchez for a long time sitting on that bench reflecting on how he screwed up in the bottom of the 4th, and it leads to another run for the Mets in the bottom of the 5th inning to go ahead, and they never look back from there.
Well, so if I remember correctly, the Mets tied the game in the bottom of the 4th. Was that before or after the complaint about the microphone?
That was right before.
So the Mets score 3 to tie it. Bohm then complains in the 5th. That's right, because don't allow the parabolic mic to distract you from the fact that Carlos Mendoza sent Kodai Senga out there for an extra inning when he absolutely should not have.
Right.
Tried to steal an out and then didn't steal an out later in the game with Tyler Rogers. We'll maybe get to that. It was very weird managing from Mendy in the first game of this series. And so the Mets tie the game. So it was a long turn at bat for the Mets where they scored the 3 runs. He then, all this, the balk to Pete was the thing that just sent this thing completely sideways. I mean, the balk when he slipped on the mound, it was just, he was never the same. The Mets scored 3, then the delay, then the Harper play, and the Mets just took full advantage, and it was 13 unanswered. I didn't know numbers went this high. 11 for 19 with runners in scoring position. It just an incredible performance from this team that for the first time, it really felt like you were watching 2024. Like, for the first time all year, it felt like, ooh, this team left the door open just a little bit. We're going to seize this moment. We're going to take advantage of this opportunity. And they did. And that just set the tone for the rest of this series.
I mean, that's what really blew me away is, like, how much every single time it felt like the Phillies gave the Mets an opening, they took full advantage. Like, and to see it from every single player on this roster, like, looking down the box score here, the only players who didn't have a hit in this game were Lindor, ironically, going 0 for 6, and Brett Baty, technically, he walked and had 0 at-bats. He had a plate appearance and a pinch running appearance. Luis Torrens hit a 3-run homer in this game. Tyrone Taylor went 3 for 4 with a double. Like, it's every single person on this roster was coming through in this game, and like you said, 11 for 19 with runners in scoring position. It felt impossible, but it made me think over and over again, and I've brought this up multiple times, about what the team looked like in 2024, specifically the postseason, specifically the NLDS, where they just kept getting clutch hit after clutch hit. Juan Soto has turned a massive corner in terms of his clutch hitting. Like, it's just everything is starting to come together, and it looks like the offense we expected coming into the season back in March.
Not many times you can say you scored 13 runs and won a game and the top 3 RBI guys on your team didn't contribute. Like Pete, Lindor, Soto, all didn't drive in a run. It was contributions everywhere else. And again, I keep saying it, but it was the performance that set the tone for the rest of the series, because the microphone, I think, stirred up the House of Horrors feel for Citi Field for the Phillies, and it just became a narrative that they didn't shy away from it. Like, the way they were talking after each game of this series, you could tell it was bothering them, and the Mets just took full advantage of it. And it was great to see, and it was great to see the huge night offensively in the first game of this series. And unfortunately, I think we should at least mention it. I don't know if Kodai Senga's spot in this rotation can be guaranteed moving forward.
Yeah,
he struggled.
It was not good. You mentioned it earlier too. The decision to have him go out there for the top of the 5th inning didn't make a whole lot of sense, given how much he had been struggling. And then it obviously led to an 8-pitch at bat to JT Realmuto that ended with him hitting the guy. And I mean, you saw it with what the news that broke last we talked with Jonah Tonk coming up to pitch on Friday. Like, I don't know if it's a matter of trying to get Senga back out to longer rests between starts or what their decision is going to be, but like, Kodai Senga has options on his contract still. And with Tonk coming up, with McLean pitching the way he is, with Clay Holmes recently pitching the way he has been, and Manaea, like, we'll get to him looking a little bit better, I mean, where does Kodai Senga fit in the plan?
He doesn't right now, and I can't believe that that's a sentence that we're uttering, but he doesn't. Now, this requires Jonah Tong to look like what we think Jonah Tong can look like. We'll get to that at the end of the pod because we'll preview Miami. But David Peterson has a rotation spot. There's no doubt in anybody's mind Nolan McLean is starting a playoff game for this franchise right now. Like
he could start game one, Chris.
The best numbers for any Mets pitcher through their first 3 starts ever. He's the first Mets pitcher to, and I'm doing the Nolan McLean breakdown before we get to Nolan McLean, but it was that special. Like he's doing things that nobody, Seaver, Gooden, DeGrom, Harvey, Seaver, just name
Syndergaard, Wheeler,
name great pitching prospects that the Mets have had. He's got numbers through his first 3 starts better than all of those guys. Like he's starting a playoff game. I'd have no problem Clay Holmes starting a playoff game. I'd have no problem, I think, by the time we get there, Sean Manaea starting a playoff game. I don't have any confidence in Kodai Senga starting a playoff game. Yeah. I just don't. He dug the Mets another hole in this game. Luckily, they were able to battle out of it because, Christopher Sanchez and the Phillies and Alec Boehm and Parabolic Mike's, they're just weak as a team mentally, and they just let everything bother them, and Citi Field is just a house of horrors for them. But if you're in the postseason, you're on the road starting a game 3, game 2, game 3, got to have it game. Kodai Senga's on the mound. You can't do that. He's certainly not starting game 1 or game 2. And so I just don't see a spot for him right now. And those minor league options could loom large because they could say, you know what? He's dealing with something either mechanically or mentally, and he just cannot fix this at the big league level. And we're gonna send him down to Syracuse where he can work on it there. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but it does feel like it is a at least distinct possibility.
I mean, that's the thing too. Is like long term, I really believe that Kodai Senga is an ace level pitcher. It's just like it has to be something with the hamstring. I don't know if it's lack of confidence in his leg, in his mechanics, and just mentally having been out for however long he was out. I believe that eventually, come 2026, maybe he will return to form as a guy with a sub-2 ERA, pitching deep into games, getting strikeouts with the forkball. But something is not right now, and I think the decision to call up Tong and McLean is kind of a signal that, like, hey, we need to make moves to help this team win right now, and Senga is not in a position to be doing that the way he has been pitching since returning from that hamstring injury.
Well, it was in between game 1 and game 2 of this series where the Mets made the announcement that they were promoting Jonah Tong and he was going to start on Friday. And because of that, both Carlos Mendoza, as he does before every game, and David Stearns met with the media to talk about Tong and other related things. And I thought there were 2 interesting comments, one from Carlos Mendoza, one from David Stearns, that I think proves that Kodai Senga's spot in this rotation is anything from guaranteed, because Mendy said in the wake of Tong being called up and the way Senga pitched, he used the phrase performance matters. That we're at the time of year where performance matters. And that was signal number 1. And then signal number 2 for me was Stearns saying that they're going to take the rotation turn by turn. That there is Manaea, Senga, nothing is guaranteed right now for the state of this rotation. That everything is going to be a start by start, turn by turn, day by day prognosis. And if Jonah Tong does anything remotely close to what Nolan McLean has done through his first 3 starts, how do you look the rest of the team in the face? How do you look the fan base in the face? How do you look all the people that work in the front office all year long to put together a team that can try to win a championship and say, yeah, you know what? We're still going to start Kodai Senga. You just can't do it. We're at the point of the year where you just can't do it. You can get away with it in April. You can do it in May and June when you're trying to get your sea legs underneath you at the beginning of the year. Calendar's about to flip to September, man. The NL East is right there. This series proves to you it's right there for them to take. You can't afford to try to get Kodai Senga right during this stretch just because you know what he can be as an ace. I'm sorry, 2025 has to come first for this team right now, and Kodai Senga isn't one of the Mets' 5 best starters.
Yeah, and I think what also reminded me of when Stearns said, a turn-by-turn thing and not committing to anything yet. Like, when's the last time we heard him use language like that?
Right.
It was Frankie Montas, right? Before they decided to move him to the bullpen. It was, we don't know past Saturday when he's going to take on that bulk role in Milwaukee, what his role in the rotation is going to be. We're not guaranteeing a spot for him in this rotation right now. And lo and behold, you call up Jonah Tong. Senga has options. He has not pitched well since returning from the hamstring injury. You're using this same language. The Mets haven't announced, I don't think, an official move for Jonah Tong. He is with the team, but they haven't announced any official transaction. I would not be surprised if Kodai Senga option to Syracuse is the corresponding move there.
Yeah, and I know that may come as a shock to a lot of people because I don't know how many out there are actually talking about it, but it does feel like the one move they have that doesn't force them to DFA somebody or send down somebody that they like out there in that bullpen. It's the one move that they have in their toolbox. I think if they wanted to just give Kodai Senga the opportunity to mentally reset, right? I think that's the important thing for him right now. It's hard enough for a pitcher to make an adjustment throughout the course of a season. Add on top of it that you're in a pennant race, you're trying to win a championship. I just don't know if that is an environment that is beneficial for Kodai Senga. And for the Mets. It just doesn't work for anybody.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen the Mets use a move like this to their advantage and to a player's advantage. It wasn't a pitcher, but Francisco Alvarez getting sent down to AAA and letting him kind of refigure things out at the minor league level where the stakes are a little bit lower. He came back up and was one of the best hitters on the team until, his most recent injury. But if they envision a similar thing happening with Kodai Senga here, like, I'm all for it. I think, again, I have full confidence based on what I've seen from him in the past and just generally his profile as a pitcher that he has ace level potential, but we just have not seen that recently, and I think that's why the Mets are doing what they're doing with Tong and potentially moving Senga down or around, whatever.
The second game of this series could be described by wanting to prove the narrative in your head wrong, because Sean Manaea got the start for the Mets in this one, and he starts the game off well, and you're just waiting. You're like, okay, got to get to the fourth inning. That's really when this matters, because we know he's been good through the first three innings. It's the fourth and the fifth that have been a problem for him. And he got to the fourth inning, and he did well. He did it. He had a decent pitch count. You felt like that was going to be the start, that he was going to be able to break through, and #our ace, Sean Manaea, back for the New York Mets. And the fifth inning just wasn't that inning, and it just was not good. They handed things off to Gregory Soto. His struggles continued. Harper gave the Phillies the lead. Luckily, the Mets were able to immediately bounce back thanks to Jesus Luzardo hitting Luis Torrens to start off the fifth inning. You want to talk somebody who was rattled. He was rattled from Juan Soto's at-bat in the first inning of this game.
I mean, they talked about it on TBS after the game ended, because this was one of the national broadcasts at the same time as the local ones, and Pedro Martinez was on there saying he is, from the start, he told Granderson, he told Jimmy Rollins, who were on the set, Luzardo is overthrowing right now. He is trying to prove a point through the first couple of innings even, and with the Soto timeout, not timeout, whatever, and then Soto grounding out and him applauding it, like, that was just, the Mets are just in their heads, man. Like, you do that kind of body language is so obvious. And then ends up getting tossed in the fifth inning after he gets pulled from the game, and it's like, dude, you are just feeding the fire of House of Horrors. Mets have the Phillies number, and I mean, we saw what happened throughout the rest of this game.
Well, and Mark Vientos continues to own the Philadelphia Phillies. He's been doing it since the postseason last year. The Mets immediately respond with a 5-run fifth, and it was everybody. It was Soto. It was Pete with an RBI double. Vientos added on. They added on another one to make it 5-2. And then you're thinking to yourself, okay, now you've got to get the game to Edwin Diaz. And that's the way things are for the New York Mets right now. That is a constant worry. It is a constant concern. And he had a good outing the night before. And what I love about watching the game in real time is you and I go back and forth throughout the game. And I tend to be the one that's predicting the bullpen moves. Like, I'm always texting you being like, all right, I think he's going to do this. And if not, maybe it's this. And we're debating whether or not it's the right decision. And so you and I were kind of trying to do the math. We were trying to figure out how this was going to work. And I said to you, he's going to go to Helsley in the eighth. Helsley had a good outing the night before. You need to give him a very quick opportunity to prove that he's back, to prove that the tipping stuff is behind him. Like, he's going to get the eighth inning in a close game tonight, because the Mets just got to know. And if it doesn't work out, then you move on, and he can't be your eighth inning guy. Well, we got our answer. Ryan Helsley cannot be in the eighth inning, I think, for the foreseeable future. I don't know if you can do it at all the rest of this year, because he is clearly tipping his pitches, and I can't see it. Now, I'm not an expert in these types of things, but apparently the Mets are having trouble figuring out what it is. But you are watching opposing hitters not even honor the slider. Like, they're just, the bat doesn't even move off their shoulder. And that's a problem.
That's the thing, too, is you watch how the Phillies at-bats looked against Diaz later in the same game, against Nolan McLean, the finale of this series. they can't help themselves when it comes to breaking pitches that they don't know are coming, because Diaz had no problem with the bulk part of this lineup, some of the heaviest hitters, getting them out, and he's historically been good at doing that, right? We saw Nolan McLean pitch 8 scoreless innings in the series finale. No issue getting the Phillies to swing and miss at a lot of his breaking stuff. But for whatever reason, they have some kind of note on Ryan Helsley, because he's a very similar profile to Edwin Diaz, with a lightning fast fastball and a great slider when it's working. And like you said, Chris, they were not chasing the slider even a little bit. They were not even close to thinking about swinging.
And of course, it was Harrison Bader who does the Mets in.
I mean, as we predicted coming into this series.
Of course he was going to have a moment in this series, and it comes in that spot. And credit to Edwin Diaz, who came in and buckled down. And again, this is where you started to see the Mets just be a different team for where they were earlier this year, because they didn't let it bother them. And then in the 9th inning, against one of the best closers in the game, it's 4 straight hits. It's 4 straight hits against one of the best closers in the game to walk it off to win the second game of this series. And if Philly needed anything more to be in their heads about, now you have the walk-off that happens, and it's just it's a snowball. And the cherry on top, we'll get to it here. We've waited long enough to talk about the greatness that was Nolan McLean. Dominant is the word I want to use, and it's the word that I've used in talking about this with friends and in other podcasting spaces. I don't know if that word does it enough justice, just how outrageous he was in this start. I mean, he threw 55 pitches through 6 innings, Jack.
Yeah. I'm having a hard time coming up with the right words to describe it, because, I mean, I texted you after the game was over, or maybe it was even before when he got pulled, but like every start that he has made so far, and we were very happy with his 5 1/3 innings against Seattle.
It's fine.
Every start since then has somehow been better than that. Like, yeah, he gave up a run against the Braves, but it was still 7 innings. And then he goes into this start against the Phillies, another divisional game, and his 3rd career start for the Mets, and 8 scoreless. And it didn't look competitive, Chris. Like, everything was working for him. He was throwing the changeup more than he had in the minors in either of his first 2 starts this year. Like, everything was working, and he was getting the swings and misses that I talked about earlier.
Yeah, we can do the statistical deep dive, and I have the TJ stats page up and ready to reference it. But it's just watching a different game when he's on the mound. You're just watching somebody do this differently than everybody else, and I can tell that because at one point he threw 55 pitches. I think 11 of them were balls, and every single one of them he was mad at himself. He was angry. It wasn't like, oh, that was a good take by so. He was mad at himself for not executing the pitch correctly, and not everybody is wired that way to where you just expect that level of perfection from yourself. And again, just a nice, cheap reminder for everybody. This dude was a reliever in college, a 2-way player that was a reliever. This is his first full year starting, and he's doing this to that lineup. Made Harper, Schwarber, Turner, Realmuto, made them all look silly all game long.
I mean, for a while, Chris, he was on pace for a Maddox, a complete game shutout on fewer than 100 pitches with 1 hit. And it was just that Alec Boehm grounder that just ate up Brett Beatty behind second base. And everything else was like not a competitive at-bat. A lot of the at-bats he was getting were fewer than 3-ball counts, and he was striking out guys, getting them to ground out easily, or flying out with shallow fly balls like we saw in the 8th inning. So, like, it just, everything was working out for Nolan McLean at the start, and he just... I just love the mentality that he had of like swearing at himself under his breath for throwing a sweeper that didn't quite clip the zone. He, again, didn't walk a single guy in this game. That's 2 straight starts now with 0 walks after 4 in the first game. And we had been told, coming into his debut that his walks were a bit of a struggle. His command struggled. Not at all that I've seen over the last 2 starts.
I have a stat. This is from Opta Stats that I want to share with everybody. Nolan McLean is the first MLB pitcher to have a 3-0 record, 20-plus innings pitched, 20-plus strikeouts, and a sub-200 opponent batting average over his first 3 career starts since Randy Johnson in 1988. He's the first Mets pitcher in history to win all 3 of his first 3 starts. You thought Jacob deGrom's welcome to New York was something? This is better. You thought Matt Harvey's welcome to New York was something? This is better. I mean, this is potentially the best pitcher statistically that the Mets have ever had. Now, 3 starts, small sample size of all time, but you just can't help but see the confidence that he has, see the way that he carries himself, and not want to just buy all the way in on who he is as a pitcher. I have the TJ stats page up. Sweeper graded out at a 113. Sinker was a 103. Curve was a 106. Four seam was a 110. The changeup was just a medium 97. And the cutter was a 101. The total stuff plus grade was a 107. Yep. Just dominant. Just absolutely dominant.
I mean, that's just stats backing up your eyes. Like, you watch Nolan McLean pitch, and he's unflappable. All of his stuff was working. I mean, I keep saying it, but it's true. Like, he was able to throw all of his pitches for strikes, or when he wasn't, they were generating swings and misses and creating better counts and better opportunities for him and his fielders behind him. I have another stat here. You mentioned 3 career starts. He's the first Met to win all 3 of his first 3 starts. Also, the second Met ever to have, through 3 career starts, 20 or more innings pitched, 15 or more strikeouts, and 3 or fewer earned runs allowed. The only other pitcher to have those numbers through their first 3 career starts as a Met, Tom Seaver.
It's just incredible what we are watching. And, oh, by the way, what I found incredibly interesting from looking at the stats from the game last night, he threw his sweeper in the zone 70% of the time.
Yes.
Like, he just doesn't care. He just knows how good the spin is, and he just knows he's going to keep you off balance.
And that was the thing, was when he didn't throw it for a strike and wasn't generating a swing and miss, he was mad at himself because he didn't execute the pitch as well as he knew he could.
Yeah, it just an absolutely incredible night. And yeah, offense was great. Mark Vientos did it again, another home run. He's got a 10-game hit streak. But the story of this game is just how dominant Nolan McLean has been so far through his first 3 starts, and he just continues to get better and better. He's not leaving himself a lot of room for improvement from this start. Like, there's not a whole lot of ways to get better from 8 scoreless against the Philadelphia Phillies, in which you strike out 6. But man, sometimes you can just point to one player's emergence on a team to changing everything. The Mets have been a different team since Nolan McLean has gotten here. And that can lead us into the big story going into this Miami series, because he's not alone. Jonah Tong is going to be here for this series. He's making his MLB debut on Friday. He will be taking the spot of, I guess technically it would have been David Peterson, who they're now bumping back a day. But it's really Kodai Senga's spot that I think is going to be up in the air. But there's the same level of buzz and excitement. And Jack, I was thinking about this morning. This is unfair to Jonah Tong. Like, Nolan McLean has made it unfair to Jonah Tong, because everything that Jonah does is now going to be compared to what Nolan has done, and it's just not fair to him. But Tong's got some great stuff. I mean, that fastball and changeup are legit elite, and he pitches from a weird delivery, and so the excitement just keeps on rolling for this team.
Yeah, I mean, I am super excited for watching Jonah Tong make his debut. I'm going to reiterate what I said about Nolan McLean before his debut, which is, listen, we don't need a savior-level start. Obviously, Nolan McLean has gotten off to savior-level, ace-level pitcher. We just need someone who's going to be able to give a little bit better than the current worst pitcher in the rotation, that's Kodai Senga. And if Tong can do that with that Tim Lincecum over-the-top delivery with the fastball, the changeup, I know the Mets pitching development team wants him to work the slider a little bit more. Like, I'm just excited to see what it looks like. He already has said, that's just Nolan. I'm just going to be myself on the mound, and so far that's gotten me the results.
Perfect.
I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
Give me more of that. You're 22 years old. You're making your major league debut out of nowhere, like something no one predicted when the season began. And you got a decent test in the Marlins, who have been warming up since the All-Star break, and let's go. Like, I'm excited to watch.
In 22 starts across AA and AAA this year, he's thrown 113 and 2/3 innings. He has a 1.58 ERA, a .92 WHIP, a 10.6% walk rate, and a 40.5% strikeout rate.
It's nuts. I mean, Chris, this is a guy, and I looked to make sure I was right on this. He pitched a couple games in low A last year. He pitched most of his games in high A last year, and 2 starts in Binghamton in 2024 before starting the year in Double A this year. And then, again, only needed the 2 starts in Syracuse before the Mets decided, okay, enough is enough. Let's get this guy up to the big leagues.
So, yeah, I mean, just get excited, because the hits just keep on coming for this team in a big way. McLean's been great. Vientos has been breaking out. Offense looks back. And now we get to see Jonah Tong, who's been excellent in the minors through 2 levels, and now he is going to get called up. And just to put some more context to it, shout out to Codify Baseball for this number. Jonah Tong has struck out 179 batters in 113 and 2/3 innings.
Good Lord.
He's just insane. You thought what Nolan McLean is doing is insane. What Jonah Tong was doing down in the minors is insane. But that's Friday. That's the second game of this series. This is a 4-game set for the Mets and the Marlins. And I'll just say this real quick as we start this preview. Do not allow the goodwill of what you did this week to go to waste. Take full advantage of playing a Miami Marlins team that you're 10 games better than. Like, don't take one step forward and then 2 steps backwards. Like, capitalize on this momentum. Capitalize on this opportunity. Take 3 or 4. Sweep this team. Like, do not apply maximum pressure on the Phillies. Like, make them constantly be looking up at the scoreboard, because even though they're not playing the Mets, make them think about you. Like, make them think about the New York Mets and fear that series coming up. The way you do that is you do not take a Marlins team lightly. So it's going to be Clay Holmes tonight. It's going to be Jonah Tong on Friday. It'll be David Peterson on Sunday. And as of this moment, it is Kodai Senga on Sunday. That is what the FanGraphs projected starters say. I do think
as of this moment,
that I'm putting a little question mark next to, because I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Phillies are currently, they're headed back home. They're playing the Braves, who are, of late, honestly have been playing better than their record. I mean, the Mets know that from that last series finale. This is the time, Chris, to apply that pressure. You can gain a couple more games on the Phillies before you head to Citizens Bank Park for that series in September. So don't take the foot off the gas. The vibes are so high. The offense has looked so good. Among the best in baseball since the start of August. I mean, 3rd in batting average, 2nd in weighted runs created plus, best batting average in baseball with runners in scoring position, 2nd best OPS with runners in scoring position. Keep it up. Just keep going.
Nothing about this is a fluke. They're playing to their potential, and they're playing to their ceiling as a team. You just don't want to slip up, right? You never want to slip up over the course of the year, but you don't want to slip up in this moment as the calendar flips to September, and you can feel it. Like, there's a difference in the way everybody feels about this baseball team, and that momentum is contagious. Even though it's not quantifiable, it is contagious, and it's just about going out there and continuing to take care of your business. And this is just a team that is firing on all cylinders. I'm not that worried about the bullpen. I think you saw it last night in the game that Brooks Raley is going to find himself as the premier setup option for this team alongside Tyler Rogers for Edwin Diaz. So that's your 7, 8, 9 in some order, with Diaz closing the door in the 9th. And it's those other guys, Soto, Helsley, Stanek, to get it to those 3. And if the starting pitching can be better, and it has been, you don't worry about it as much. You don't worry about those high leverage innings or moments going to Soto and Stanek and Helsley.
I mean, that's the same with the offense, too. If the offense keeps hitting the way that they have, if the lineup continues to look as deep as it has, it takes a lot of pressure off the pitching staff, especially in those later innings.
One more thing before we get out of here. Francisco Alvarez hit on the hand, and he broke his pinky, and it was in his left hand. So now he's got something going on with both hands. He's not doing anything for the next 2 or 3 days, but he does still think that he will be able to play this year. I don't see a world where they do this. Like, I don't see a world where they chance this, but Francisco Alvarez is certainly going to push the Mets to tell him no. He's going to try to get out there. I just catchers. I mean, we've seen Luis Torrens get beat up a bunch here just behind the plate. Yeah. I'm worried about Alvy. The same thing.
I mean, it's such a bummer too, because he was saying early that he hadn't felt any discomfort in his right hand when he was swinging the bat. He had a double in his rehab start, and then he broke his pinky later in that same game. So it's a tough setback. I mean, if Luis Torrens is going to keep hitting 3-run homers to right center field, I'll be a little less worried. But yeah, I don't know if there's really a world where the Mets try to force something and hamper a great year that he has had down the stretch so far, and kind of tank his confidence going into maybe next year.
A 4-game series with Miami. Hopefully the Mets can take full advantage of the momentum that they've built, and they have become a team that you want to go out of your way to see again, right? There was that very long stretch where it was nauseating to watch Mets baseball. Just everything was going wrong. Offense, starting pitch, bullpen, didn't matter. Something every night was popping up for this team, and now it feels like it is the complete opposite. Everything is going right for this team, and just there's excitement day after day, either with what they're doing on the field or the news off the field with prospects being called up, and you can just it is just palpable, just the energy that this team and this franchise has right now, and it is a lot of fun. We are back Monday. Man, there's just no days off for a little bit. We've got a little bit here before there's a day off for Mets baseball. Next Thursday, a week from today, we'll do a podcast without needing to rush it out because of the next series right around the corner. But we will be back Monday to recap all things from this series against Miami. Jonah Tong's debut, what the roster move was. Did Kodai Senga make that start as he is scheduled to make on Sunday? And we will get you ready for a 3-game set in Detroit against the Tigers. For everybody, please rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. Even if you are new here, even if you've been a long-time listener, please rate, review, subscribe to the show. Share the show with a friend, a fellow Mets fan in your life. You want to catch the show over on YouTube, just search Jack McKessy, McKessy, over there to get that. We're back Monday recapping the Miami series. Enjoy the fun. Enjoy Jonah Tong's MLB debut. And as always, let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets.